My name is Jamie White. I'm a commercial oyster picker, and my family has been in the oyster business for generations, and that's how I got started in there. I learned from my uncles learned from my granddaddy. I go out here and I harvest oysters.
My name is Steven Swartacki. I work for the Shellfish Management Section, part of the Office of Fisheries Management and the Marine Resources Division of your South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. So we went out today and did two management techniques, relay and rakedown. Rakedown is after harvesting a bank, you take the seed oysters from the top who do not grow to harvestable, sellable size, and you pull them down, thus making a bank that's reseeded.
If I was to rake this down, I wouldn't want to take everything and rake it down. I would just want to take some of it down, so that way, you know, those oysters, like I told you, they need something to stick to. And then later on, the next year, you can come and rake the rest down.
Relay is where you take oysters from a bank that is overgrown and has too much competition for oysters to grow to a productive commercial size to sell, and you break them up and you move them to an area on the shoreline that has no culch material, thus making new oyster reef out of seed. The law says that commercial harvested oysters have to be 3 inches in size or more. So during the rakedown process, we are taking very dense clusters of oyster growth, and we're breaking and spreading or culling those in place and separating the seed oysters from the bigger oysters so they have enough room to grow into larger oysters.
Those shells that I brought back, those are shells when I washed the oysters that I picked yesterday. Those are the shells that was left over from when I was bagging up the oysters, and I bring those back because you replant those, and that way they can grow.
When you harvest an oyster, you remove habitat for new generations of oysters to grow and land on. And in South Carolina, we have pluff mud, and if you remove shell, those baby oysters are gonna land on pluff mud and they're gonna sink and they're gonna suffocate. So our commercial watermen have to put out culch material. They have to replant culch material on shellfish harvest grounds. It's the only fishery I know where there is a stewardship component to being a commercial waterman. There is not a component of cobia fishing where you have to grow baby cobia fry and put them back out in the water. Like the arch in Roman architecture, where you finish it by putting the keystone in, when you pull that keystone out, the arch falls. We call the oyster a keystone species. So if you remove the oyster completely from the ecosystem, you will have ecosystem collapse. So many species depend on the oyster for shelter or food or protection that they won't have that anymore and they will cease to exist.